Captured by Women is brought to you by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow, and Nido Fortigrow, your love, their future.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us once again for another edition of Captured by Women. Another edition where we ask questions, where we probe and seek answers and insights to issues that affect us nationally and issues that are of concern to you and which you discuss in your offices, at home, and in other spaces. As we usually do, we would look at socio-political trending issues for this week. We will bring you a dose of inspiration via our Career Woman segment, and then would add a topping on our lifestyle segment. I'm here once again with Petra and with Nanama, and as always, we are sponsored by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow, GTP, Timeless, and Nido, nutritious milk for growing kids. It promises to be really exciting. Please stay with us as we take these messages.
The 1992 Constitution establishes the three arms of government. This past week, the Speaker of Parliament reminded us about the privileges and immunities of our members of Parliament. And so if you want a reference, it will be the Chapter 10 of our 92 Constitution, specifically Articles 117 and 118. Nanama and Rosemond.
I like the way you call
it. Calling us to order. Yes, calling us to order.
Calling us order.
So when I listened to the speakers, the Right Honourable Speaker's speech, I got the sense that he really wanted to give a bold reminder of what the Constitution says about what parliamentarians have access to. And for me, it was a very interesting reminder of that portion of our governance. And I asked myself, okay, so how is it that this whole incident happened? So I've gone in and I've tried to research what the issues are. And the question that comes up is, did the situation warrant an urgent action by the police? Or were they just outstepping their boundaries? I don't know what you think.
Petra, before I come to answer that particular question, what for me is, you know, a take-home message from all that happened between the police, Parliament, is that I would equally also want at some point for Parliament within itself to also remind its members that with privileges comes responsibilities as well, and they should go in tandem. You don't necessarily have to enjoy the privileges if you're not equally putting up the responsibility that is required of you. And I think that for adults, it's very important to establish that. Because when this happened, I'll come back to talk about the police on the other hand. But it's very interesting how when something goes against the goodies of Parliament, we're quick to, you know, clamp down on it and let's make all the noise. It's a unanimous discussion. But when they offend citizens or do, you know, go out of their way not to perform their responsibilities, we hush and it's quiet. So equally, I just want to use this opportunity to remind them that it's two ways. You can't have your cake and you can't eat your cake.
The speaker mentioned the fact that is no indication that they're above the law.
Exactly, which is right. But it's not enough for me. I feel that was the great space. But I'm just trying to remind them. Because it's so easy for them to always be happy about these, you know, speaker talking against other things. But again, they themselves, they have a responsibility to us because they are not above the law. Then now let's come to the other issues. I think the police, as we've often said, and I think they went out of it wasn't necessary for me looking at things. Like we said, these are public officers. You know where to get them. You know where to find them. So you can go to their offices and ask for them to come when you need them and blah, blah, blah. So I think it was they were rushed in their actions, and so it shouldn't happen. Again, you remember a similar incident happened with, you know, the police breaching the rights of journalists. Up till date, we haven't heard anything about it. So that's just a reminder for public viewers, for citizens to remember, so that we attach that same importance we do. Every human life matters, irrespective of the position you hold. That's just an extra topping on the icing. But everyone else has a basic right that has to be adhered to.
But I think when it comes to Parliament's, let me say, sense of urgency or being vocal on happenings, I think that they've been up and doing.
Which happenings?
As in, for example, from what you said, I think what I got was that the alacrity with which they were quick to remind the police not to overstep their boundaries is not the same they do when it has to do with the citizenry.
No, but have you noticed that when it comes to things that concerns them, the urgency, the unity, the drive is strong. It's stronger than when it has to do with anything else.
I'm saying that, to be fair, maybe it's not in equal measure, but I think that
it certainly is not in equal measure.
No, I think it is, because I can cite quite a number of issues where there was public outcry and Parliament, quickly, was up and doing, in either hauling ministers to come and answer, either coming to, speak to the issues that was being raised in the public domain.
I would want to believe that this is just a reminder. It sounded like a very strong reminder from a very high authority that, hey guys, we have these privileges, we have these immunities, let's be reminded of what has to be done. And I felt that it was, for me as a student of political science, it was a very good reminder that we have a strong constitution that spells out our rights and our responsibilities. And for all of us, it would be good to just go back and check out what are the things that we have in there, what are the things that we can call on. We shouldn't just wait for when it's just MPs, because there are lots of goodies in the Constitution for all of us that we should just be reminded of. For me, that's the takeaway. And so, whilst we were reminded of our rights and our responsibilities, we should also be reminded that we all have a role to play in nation building, and we hope that everyone will pay attention to those rights and, of course, the responsibilities that go along with them. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll go on with the show.
Thanks for staying with us. Friday, 28 September was World Rabies Day, and the theme was Share a Message, Save a Life. The theme essentially talks about education and awareness to prevent the disease. So we've been joined by Dr. Bashiru Boy Kikimoto, who is the head of Public Health Veterinary Services. Doc, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
The first question I want to find out from you is, currently, what is the situation and the statistics when it comes to rabies cases in Ghana?
Yeah, thank you very much. Currently, we have so many, let's say, challenges with transmission of data.
Okay.
But I can give you that since 2009 until 2017, we have some data. Yes, from 2009 to 2011, we had over 901 people who were rabies cases.
Okay.
And the involvement of human beings was about 732. From 2013 to 2017, the numbers keep on dwindling. 2013 was 98.
Okay.
And I think 2014, the numbers dropped. As of last year, we had also over 89 cases. So I think that the numbers keep on dwindling, year in, year out. Yeah.
And that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good, but it also means that we need to make sure that our data is refined. Yeah, and because we get data at head office from all over the country, sometimes transmission of the data, sometimes non-reportable cases could go unnoticed, because in the district things are organized in a different way. So all those challenges are taken into consideration.
Dr. Kikimoto, in the fight against rabies, my worry has always been the dogs, who get infected and transmitted to the human beings. Most Ghanaians leave their dogs to become stray dogs. And for me, that's a worrying thing, because as much as we go around vaccinating, or people willingly bring a dog that I'm responsible for to the veterinary service, what happens to those other ones who are not taken care of by anyone, or no one claims them? How do you go about making sure these ones also are managed so they don't get the rabies and transmit?
Doc, thank you very much. We have a peculiar problem in Ghana. The local assemblies are supposed to assist with bylaws to make sure that all stray dogs, we don't call them stray dogs, we call them community dogs.
Okay.
Because every dog, once you use a stone to hit it, you find the house where it's come from.
In the light of the World Rabies Day, we're looking at prevention.
Yeah.
So how do we prevent it from spreading, or from people from getting infected?
In fact, the most vulnerable people are children and the aged, you know, and sometimes school children, they also suffer a lot. Women too, sometimes they can't run fast.
Oh.
Yeah. Especially those that put on high heels. They will not be able to run.
Okay, so I'm definitely not going to get away from my dog
when it's coming to attack. But Doc, I would also want you to highlight some of the important things we should do when you're bitten by a dog, whether it has rabies or not.
Yeah, I think first is to wash the site of bite. Okay. And with soap or running water with soap. Then maybe get to the nearest health facility for anti-tetanus.
Okay.
Very important. Then after that, you can now bring the dog for quarantine. Then we know whether it has the rabies or not. Then we advise further actions.
Okay. There's the myth of if you get bitten by a rabid dog, you go mad.
Yeah. Or you end up barking.
Barking like a dog. Is that
any of them?
Is that, well, I started by saying it's a myth. Is it true? Is there, because when I was looking at the issues of the human manifestation of rabies, it actually said that the incubation period is quite long.
It varies, yeah.
It varies. So how would someone know they've been infected? Because when I was growing up, it was one of my biggest fears. I've never liked dogs, even though I have dogs now. I totally tolerate them because of that fear of being bitten by a rabid dog. So what's the truth in that? Is it a myth?
It's not a myth, it's a reality.
Okay.
Actually, if you see a human being suffering from rabies, even you eat for 1 month.
Really?
Yeah, we have cases, but because of ethics and culture, we don't want to show it on television. It's really very disastrous.
Wow.
There's only one person who has so far survived in the world from rabies, in the US. Apart from that, anybody who has the virus that has gone to the brain stem, and it becomes irreversible, that one is 100% death. And you really back like the dog.
Yeah.
Really?
At the terminal stages. Yeah.
So what's the...
Shocking.
Okay, this is scary. Doc, what's the... So is it that when you get bitten by a dog, that's it? There's no cure?
Not just any dog.
Not
like
any dog.
A rabid dog.
The one that has the virus.
If you get to the hospital early, well, they could help you in the sense that the manifestations are in phases. And so depending on what you come with, then the doctor would intervene and make sure. But usually people who eventually have rabies need to be in the intensive care unit. Because if you hear what we're saying, it's affecting the nervous system and it's nothing to write home about. But that's why I think that prevention has to be, spoken about. So let's talk about the vaccination. So I have a dog. At what age can I start vaccinating it against rabies?
Oh, 3 months.
3 months. 3 months. And how often do I have to do that?
It's 8 months, but because Ghana it's endemic, we say every year.
Okay.
So that it doesn't become difficult for you to calculate 8 months. See, 1 year, so it's easy for you.
When the year ends, you just come back and start.
But is there any organization that is ensuring that dogs are all vaccinated? Like how once in a while people go around to make sure children are vaccinated, going from school to school. Is there something like that?
No, because the Animal Disease Act of 1961, Act 83, gives us the right to do those kind of things. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen. So we do this kind of Japanese type of thing, fire service. You get up, you go, you come, and then wait and go again.
Goes on.
Yeah, so that's how it is.
Oh, but this is a serious
Dr. Ikimoto,
it's so
I mean, when it comes to government's interventions and some of the things, interactions they have with veterinary services in this fight against rabies, do you think we as a nation are taking it serious?
I think it's serious, but it's because the people affected are a certain class of people.
Right.
I remember one former minister had his daughter beaten, and the way he was running up and down, I was surprised because when he was minister, he didn't like veterinary at all. But when the dog beat the daughter, after he had left power, I saw that the way he rushed that day, that afternoon, we had to help him move up and down. I have to call Kolobu. Because I had a public health, I have the link with all the public health institutions. So anything, at least if you can't even get like HEMA and rabies, you call me, I call every side, you are likely to get one. So we help him out. So that's why they also need to take veterinary seal, because out of the plenty human diseases, like I was telling you the other time, out of the 4,198 diseases that kill a human being, about 3,558 are of animal origin. And only 604 diseases are purely human. Any other disease you see, it can affect the human and the animal. So it's like a one health concept we have to adopt in controlling rabies.
We've just heard a lot about rabies, what to do to avoid it, and most importantly, not to take for granted the need to always take our dogs for vaccination. The show continues. Please stay with us.
So earlier this week, the Vice President visited the inhabitants of the 3 northern regions who had been affected by the Bagri Dam spillage, and they went with NADMO to donate some items. Unfortunately, news reaching us says they donated some weevil-infested rice and expired cooking oil. Well, the 3 northern regions haven't been too excited about this. NADMO has come out to apologize for that, but I think people have been calling for the heads of NADMO, bosses to roll. And I agree, because this is your job. It may be that you'd come and say, well, some 6 cartons were packed somewhere and it was mistaking, but assuming that information never got back, that this was expired goods, people would have, taking it, and you never know what the effects would have been. It just means someone was sleeping on the job. Because if you try and confiscate some goods, you would label it at least, or you would destroy it. Why would you put it in a warehouse or storage and then unfortunately go? I think this is not worth talking about, particularly when it's even the Vice President who also leads the front. And with that, I have a big issue, because I think now we're politicizing everything. If you've got people working in their space and doing what they have to do, at what point will the Vice President have to even go and do this, to be involved and distributing and holding cartons of oil? I thought that was, a breakdown in our structure and what we really are meant to do. I think we're playing politics with everything, and it's too much for me.
It's a typical picture. I don't think it's
exactly, but
it's a typical picture.
That's what I'm saying. Where if you have NADMO in the 3 northern regions, they have jobs to do. People are employed to be the ones to distribute these items. At what point would you think people need to see you carrying gallons of oil, and people need to see you holding rice to feel that we are doing something? That's what I'm trying to say. The fact that it's been done often doesn't mean it makes it right at all.
No, it probably may not be right. It depends on where you're looking at it from. But we also have to look at the dimension where, yes, anytime we have a disaster, we have our officials going to what should I give you the word?
No, to show face,
and all that.
But they don't distribute, Rosemont. They wouldn't distribute, and that's where when people say no, because I feel, see, if I'm doing my job and I know I'm there in the northern region as NADMO, when there's a disaster, we go and present items. Why would the Vice President have to fly in and come and be the one to distribute these things? Oftentimes, yes, it's okay. No, you may, we all have discerning views anyway. But my point is, I feel we have brought politics so low where we've got issues. I'm not saying don't go and commiserate with them, but NADMO can do its job. Leave them to do that. You go there, you say your pleasantries, whatever you have to do, and you leave. Let's not play politics with everything where the person has to be there even in person. Really, why should even a Vice President be there? I feel, is that always necessary? Do we always need a government official to show face so that it seems you are doing something? No, I think we can move from that.
I feel that this whole episode around NADMO and the Vice President is just a symptom of a bigger problem.
Exactly.
It's a symptom for me of us not having worked on our systems and making sure that they work and they're effective. And so when people say that heads must roll, I feel that's the easy way out. Consistently, things go wrong, and then we put pressure on public servants and say resign. That's okay. But my challenge is we need to go beyond just the resign chorus and begin to look at how we building systems and structures and procedures that outlive politicians and political parties. The nation cannot develop if we don't have order.
Never.
Nations don't develop if we don't have systems, we don't have plans, we don't have things put in place. And that's where we're missing it. So we need to go back, and I'm the person who feels that when there's a mistake, the right thing to do is to backtrack and ask ourselves, what did we do wrong?
Exactly.
And then try and ensure the next time we don't make the same mistakes. Firing somebody is the easy way out.
It is.
And whether the person gets fired or not is besides the point for me. My issue is how we're ensuring that next year, because there will be a next year, there will be another disaster. How do we ensure that there's a procedure that ensures that when we have things in storage, A, B, C, D is what we do, so that we never have this problem again.
Rebecca, we've had these gaffes.
Yes, and that's because we never backtrack. We're always looking for who to blame.
And when we finish blaming, it ends there.
That's it. But we can't develop
for me,
that
I think
way.
that I'm probably even getting a bit exhausted about having these conversations because it's like, it's become like a
pension. It always will happen.
It's become part of almost like every week there's something, there's a gaff that, you know, sometimes embarrasses district assemblies, and now it's the vice president.
Yes, and so this is a good thing. It's a good thing that it has affected the vice president. The other one about the president saying that the president was misled is another good thing, because it will continue to show inefficiencies and the fact that we're not building the systems properly.
But again, it will end there,
is,
and that's where we want to talk about it, so that we change it. Because it shouldn't end.
We have to build the system.
That's what I'm saying. I'm getting tired of the conversation.
Please
because
don't
really,
be tired. We
no,
have to keep
seriously.
talking.
It's annoying, and it's really frustrating to always mention the same thing.
We have to keep doing
we have to.
So
I
anyway,
am all for we have to build the systems, because the nation must develop. We don't have a choice. This is the only Ghana we have.
Anyway,
guys, that's all we have on that. That was our view of what we think of what happened in the 3 northern regions when the vice president visited to commiserate with people who had suffered from the Bagri Dam spillage. And these are our views. But let's take a break. We'll be back with more. We are proudly sponsored by GTP, Nido, and Yamvita, a delicious way to grow. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our Career Woman segment. A very recent but yet troubling phenomenon is the issue of online safety and security for children. Today we're going to be looking at that, but we'll be also discussing how we can keep our children safe, especially young women. We're interviewing today a very phenomenal woman who has done a lot of work in ensuring that cybersecurity for children is highlighted. Our guest on Career Woman today is Awo Aidam Amenya. Awo, thank you very much for joining us. And I must add, Awo is the Executive Director of J Initiative. We're excited to have you. I know that you've done a lot of work, thank you, in that space. But today we want to learn more about you and your work. So I'll let you talk about what J Initiative is, what you've done, and what you want to achieve with it.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. J Initiative is that organization which is interested in the welfare of children and young people, and by extension family. So we are so concerned about what goes on in the life of the child, be it physically or virtually. So having gone through the principles that we would like to work with, we saw that the virtual space is left unattended to. So we have decided to take up that space in order to make a case. We raise voices with and for children. So there are times we engage the children to speak for themselves, other times we speak on their behalf. So by that we have done a number of policy engagements, both with government in Ghana and at the African level. And then we've also done some sensitization for parents, for teachers, and for corporate Ghana. And we've been to the schools to engage with the children themselves, and we keep doing that because there's a lot to be done as far as that is concerned. J Initiative wish to see the digital space safe enough for every young person. So just as we are concerned about how it should be safe for us as adults, we are interested in the interests of the child, because we know that there are so many things in the space that does not speak well, or that does not encourage the healthy development of the child. So we look at that, we consider the pedagogy that goes into it, and all the other regulative aspects of that. By and large, we wish to see the children, especially young girls, becoming confident in themselves, both offline and online. Most young girls nowadays are confronted with the issue of body image. So because they don't have the validation from home that you are who God wants you to be, you are beautiful in your own rights and all of that, most of them resort to getting online to post photos, and they get the impression that posting photos with your cleavage or semi-nude is the way to go, because that is the photo that generates more likes. If you post a decent photo, you don't get to get plenty likes. So we try to discourage them from that kind of validation.
And finding out, what was the highlighting moment in your life where you thought this is the time for us to create J Initiative and fight or advocate strongly for both, you know, young people? Now it's both boys and girls. What point in your life did you feel this is the time to do this?
In fact, I was working with Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, and I was working as the program officer for Stop Violence Against Girls in Schools project. So as part of that project, we made a case for young girls to be protected, for them to have separate toilets and washrooms and stuff like that, because those were the issues that were coming up. Aside that was the menstrual hygiene as well. So they had issues with sanitary pads and stuff like that. I looked at the whole thing, I'm like, what is happening? So I decided to resign from the work and see what I could do to help young people. So in 2013, I threw in my resignation. And then in 2014,
I like how she said she threw in my resignation. I like that.
In 2014, I started this project. In fact, what convinced me that it was a calling was that I went to a school to visit a colleague of mine, and I met this young boy with the father. The boy apparently the day before went to the father to take money to do project work. He went to the cafe only for him to download materials. So he created folders, African breasts, Caucasian breasts, grouped them like that and had it on his pen drive. So the father said when he came home, his demeanor had changed. So he was curious. He was like, what did you go to do? He took the pen drive from him, checked, and then it was all breasts that this boy has done. So he brought the boy to the school to be disciplined by the headmistress. And I happened to meet him. I'm like, why are you all holding cane on this boy like this? So, oh, see what he has done. Then you see that the father was so much angry and
father.
Yes. So I
taking you to school to be beating.
Exactly. I wonder why would you handle your own business?
I'll tell your teacher, and you know how much fear.
And this one, it was even the headmistress. So I slotted in the stick, and I saw that. Oh, okay, that's what I was like. Oh, okay, nice. The father said, nice. I said, yes. The boy has an energy. He has the skills. He doesn't know where to direct it.
Right.
So we need to find a place to direct that skill. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, yes. We are teaching them ICT in school. Who has taught them what next to do apart from surfing? So he went to surf and he got the information, and he's created folders and stuff like that. So let's get him work to do so he can get out of that situation. So that was what birthed J Initiative. It started first as an anti-pornography campaign for children and young people. We launched it on one of the Valentine days, just to capture them.
In your line of work, what have you or what are you doing to conscientize parents so that they can manage and supervise their children to prevent them, you know, getting into the wrong places online?
Okay. The basic fundamental right of the child allows him to get online or to find information or seek information wherever he wants to get it. So in order not to deprive them of that right, the first thing we do is we encourage parents to ask questions at their service provider end. So for instance, if you are using a network, when you go to the network provider, ask for them to activate the anti-spam platform for you. And when that is activated, at least it blocks all the obscene materials before it gets to you. So with that, the child can be free to explore. My children, sometimes I'm able to do that when they are using their device. But if we should go into a new environment where I don't have any protection on it, what I do is to download the materials for them myself and save it and then put them offline. They play games, but I don't allow them to play online. I download and then take off the internet, and then they explore with that. Supervising is not a small thing. Most parents are equally of the view that the children know better than them. But I don't think we should leave it there. It's important, just as we yearn to do things, let's invest in these children by learning what we can do with them. It will interest you to know that I have all boys, 3 boys, and sometimes they come, okay, mommy, but this and that. Sometimes I listen and I'm like, okay. Where did you hear this? Oh, it was all over our school. Don't you know it? So no, I don't know. Okay, so this is what it means. So I listen to them. When they give me the false support, then I now sit them down and then tell them. And sometimes it will interest you to know that these children, you talk to them and go like, no, mommy, what you are saying cannot be right. So then we go online together. Then you go to the site, you open it up, ask one of them to read. I'm not able to do that for them as often as I wish I could. But the little I've done with them brought about some consciousness in them. So they could be watching a TV program now, and then an advert comes. Once it has to do with alcohol and those things, they'll switch. And then we have times for TV. You don't just get up and watch TV. We have times for game and all of that. So I realize when I engage them in making the rules, they are able to comply.
Tell a lot of young parents that routines are important for children's growth and development, and to instill discipline. But it always sounds like, okay, you're being too strict. Because my children also have TV time and times they don't watch TV. And they always constantly try to get you to bend a bit. How has that been an issue for you as a parent?
The younger boy, who is 8 today,
Happy birthday.
is the craftiest. The bigger ones don't have a problem because mommy has said it, forget it. No amount of words will change her mind. So the younger one will come, okay, mommy, can I talk to daddy? What about? But I want to speak to daddy, and you're asking me what about? Give him the phone. The next moment he's going to YouTube Kids.
Okay.
So when I realize that is what he does, the next thing he will do is when he realizes you are on phone, you come and distract you just to have his way, to have things done. Sometimes, in fact, till now, I still have A4 sheets on the wall, both in their bedroom, in their wash room, and some parts of the living room. Because there are things they should always remember. Those rules will not change. So once you look up and then
on the wall.
because when you do that, you can lose your chance of watching TV for a whole week. and no amount of talking will change
No,
mommy's
but
mind.
I mean,
mommy.
sometimes don't you have mommy guilt where, because there was this one, I remember very clearly, there was this one time we disciplined my son, and I felt so bad. We had to wait out the discipline, and you know how children can be like,
almost like they almost
mommy, and you feel bad.
Yeah.
How'd you deal with that?
In fact, the next thing I will do will be to turn on the music.
To block it out. Oh, then
It's
I
a
guess
good
it's normal.
I think that's the best.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll turn on the music and we'll enjoy it.
It's tough love sometimes.
Yes.
That's the
tough
thing.
love.
But I
Tough
will let's
love.
come down to your life, because it's very interesting. You say you're married to an army officer who's in and out of town, and also you've got 3 male figures in your house to deal with on your own. I don't know how you do. I love boys, but I mean 3 would be a very big deal.
Handful.
So plus work and all the things you say, giving young mothers out there that, you know, idea of how you put it all together. Just share with us a little of how you do it, or how you're still doing it, because it's a journey in progress.
If you ask me, I don't think I know how I do it. I would say it's by the grace of God. Because there are times I feel so overwhelmed and I go like, oh. Then the next thing I will do is I'll be playing very loud music or I will turn to hymns. And once I do that, it sort of relaxes me. And then the next moment, I just have an insight. Then I go back to it.
Yeah.
So as much as possible, I try not to pollute my system with unwanted message. I always make sure I get the right message in here because I can easily get stressed. So I got so used to that. God being so good, the bigger boy is gone to free SHS 1.
And he's in the
gold track or green
He's in
track.
the green track.
Green.
Green track.
Yes.
Okay.
So the exhibit 2 and 3 are the ones.
You really call them that? Exhibit.
Yes. When you see them, everybody, it's either you look like mommy or daddy.
Daddy.
Okay.
I know.
So
that's
interesting.
I refer to them as exhibits or landlords because sometimes they kind of dictate my life, the way it should go and that kind of thing. But I realized that being close to them makes the work a lot easier for me. I can be cooking now, and then this 8th one is out. The other ones will come. Okay, what can I do to help you? So then I engage them. So we are there and we are talking. And this one is dismantling or fixing something. Then he'll come. Is the food ready?
Yes. The landlord. Oh.
Yes. So I try to kind of discourage him from that because when I was growing up, I was competing with my brothers in cooking. So I cook rice and sometimes I say, oh, this rice, when you finish it in your tummy, it will hurt. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And being the only girl among boys, I had no choice than to live with it. And one time I remember I told my mom, sometimes you treat me like you're not my mother. Say, it's for your own good. So when she said that, sometimes when the boys are dealing with me, I just call back that. And at times I'll have to call their father and say, please, can you advise these boys? If not, if I lose my temper, I will go like, okay. Then he will then connect with them and talk with them. One other thing I do with them is, if there's time, I just take them out for 30 minutes, 1 hour, and come back. And everything changes. They tend to behave correctly and stuff like that. So I have many skills that I deploy to kind of manage them. Yes. And they know it. So, for instance, I go to get them from school late.
Our viewers at home have learnt a lot, but thank you very much. We appreciate the work that you're doing. You're working in such an important space, and we wish you all the best. But at this point, we'll thank you, Awo, who is the Executive Director of J Initiative. That's an NGO that highlights the need for safety and security of children online. We'll thank you for staying with us. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the show. Please stay.
every one of us at some point in our lives has suffered headaches, be it because that boyfriend broke up with you, you missed that call, you missed that appointment, you're just stressed, you're just tired, and life has it with all these issues. But I'm sure you know there are some solutions to having headaches, and I'm sure you've asked yourself, what can I do to get that bugging headache off? Well, let's go and find out exactly what we can do to solve our issues of headaches.
Millions of people miss out on the best things in life due to the pains they go through daily. Don't be part of them. Don't make painkillers your best companion. Are you still suffering from that nagging headache, shoulder pain, neck pain, or back pain? Then look no further. Visit Nova Wellness Center for a lasting solution to your pains and spinal misalignments. Nova Wellness Center uses the most comprehensive and well-planned chiropractic treatment and therapeutic modalities to naturally correct spinal misalignments by releasing pressure from the nerves without drugs or surgery. We also offer nutrition supplementation, effective massage services, physiotherapy, as well as weight management programs to help you achieve your maximum wellness. Visit us today off the Kanda Highway, North Ridge, near Sunny FM, towards Ridge Runabout, or give us a call on 026 995 2077 or 0549 586 494. You can also visit us on www.novawellnessgh.com and schedule a comprehensive chiropractic evaluation for you and your entire family. Nova Wellness Center, the most affordable and efficient spine clinic in Ghana.
All too soon, we've come to the end of another exciting edition of Captured by Women. We looked at a number of issues today by starting off with a caution by the Speaker of Parliament to the Ghana Police Service to respect the rights and privileges of members of Parliament. Then we turned our attention to the distribution of some expired goods to victims of the Bagri Dam and NADMO's response in taking responsibility for this gaffe. We further looked at the issue of rabies as we commemorated World Rabies Day and what we can do to prevent getting infected with rabies. And then we also featured a very phenomenal woman in the person of Awo Aidam Amenya, who was our star for Career Woman today to share her work, her great work in protecting children online. For lifestyle, we talked about headaches and what we can all do to manage and prevent having headaches. The show, as usual, is sponsored by GTP, by Nido, and by Yamvita. Thank you very much for joining us today. We wish you a very blessed week ahead, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Captured by Women is brought to you by Yumvita, a delicious way to grow, and Nido 40 Grow, your love, their future.